Good morning. It is day 20 on the Palmetto Trail. It is good to be back in the woods walking, although this trail is right beside a busy road right now, but it's the Wateree Passage. I did the Capital City Passage yesterday, which was walking through Columbia. Kind of interesting, but I'm glad to be done that. Next was to be the Fort Jackson Passage, which is the largest Army training facility in the United States, and the trail goes right through it. However, they had top security, I guess because there's wars going on and stuff, and they wanted you to do a background check for both Mom and I, which is fine, but it was gonna take a long time. There was people ahead of us and my time is slipping away, so I did not want to take the time to do all that, just to walk. And it was a lot of road walking as well. It didn't seem like it was going to be that special. So I have opted out of the Fort Jackson Passage. Sad but true. Anyways, I have to get this trail done because we need to get back home. And I did not ask them, but I feel like they would not have been happy with me videoing through there. And that's the whole reason that I do these hikes, is to be able to make these YouTube videos. So I feel okay about omitting that passage. It had to be. It's sure been raining through the night. I'm glad it's through the night and not through the day. But yeah, it's really damp. So this is what I'm walking through right now, not too inspiring. And there's the road over there, and there's a cornfield beyond that. Dry creek. In a clearing now. Now you can see the fields. There's my Palmetto sign. Hindsight is always 20/20. I should have rode my bike on that walk that I just did by that noisy road for 2.5 miles. So now I'm on my bike doing about a 5.5 mile trail section of this trail, and it's by a railroad track. Okay, this makes sense now. I'd read that it was in an old abandoned railway track, and here it is. Fun. Too funny. Now I'm regretting bringing the bike because I want to enjoy this swamp. This is incredible. And it's pretty bumpy going too. The lily pads are in bloom. That is so special. Oh, this is so fun. Wateree. Pretty creaky. What a shame to be biking this. This gives Congaree National Park a run for its money. Wow, this is impressive. We got a swinging bridge situation here, it seems like. Whoa. So I think I want to walk across it. Yeah. Oh, this is so amazing. Yeah, incredible, incredible passage after all. I was discouraged with that 2-mile walk, but now this is making up for it. Oh, I had to stop for these guys. Spiderworts. We have to buy them from a nursery where I live, and here they're in the wild. Oh, this is so fabulous. So I just had a snake go in front of me, and then a big creature, well, not huge, but looked like a porcupine maybe, go in front of me. So there's some wildlife here. And look, another trestle. Riding a bike makes it a nice cool breeze. So I'm glad about that. This is trestle number 7, Kohler's Old Bridge trestle. And now this is trestle 6, Halfway Creek. like you're in a jungle. I could just sit here for a long time and watch the creatures and listen to the sounds. Oh yeah, I think that's a water moccasin down there. Do you see its head? Or maybe it's just a stick. Oh yeah, no, it moved. That's a snake. No waiting in there for me. Trestle 5 Buckles Slough. Trestle 4 Beach Creek. Oh yeah, Trestle 3 Cottonmouth Slough. I guess I'll know what I'll see here. In April 1865, along what is now the Palmetto Trail, General Edward E. Potter and his Union Army discovered 9 locomotives and approximately 200 cars from the rolling stock of the Wilmington and Manchester and South Carolina railroads. These cars were loaded with munitions and supplies for the Confederate Army and had become isolated. Potter instructed his army to proceed to burn, blow up, and otherwise destroy these trains and tracks. The explosions scattered cannon sights and mounts, cannonballs, bayonets, pieces of shrapnel, bullet molds, broken swords, and other weaponry. These leftovers eventually went back to war, however. During World War II, most of the remaining scrap metal from the trains was collected and used in the war effort. Trestle 2 Belser Slough. Trestle 1 Chain of Lakes, and apparently they expect people to fish off of these trestles. I guess high up is okay. I wonder what kind of fish live down there. Oh, there's an actual running stream down there. Ooh, that's a different color swamp. And now this is my turn off into the woods. Molly's Bluff to Poinsett Park, 3.4 miles. So now I get to go in the woods. And that means I'm staying at a state park tonight. Now this is thick jungle in here. It's a steep climb right off the bat. I would not be able to do all this finagling if it wasn't for my wonderful mother, who is now walking almost 1.5 miles to get the bike from the parking lot, from the trailhead parking lot. So, and she's deathly afraid of snakes, if I haven't mentioned that before. So she's doing me a huge motherly favor. What mothers do for their children, just so I can do this journey. I'm so blessed. We are making progress through the Bible, and today we are starting the book of Ruth. The name Ruth is related to the Hebrew word for friend or companion, and as we will see in this story, she lived up to her name. I am always astonished at how well the parents name their children in the Bible. In the Jewish tradition, the book of Ruth is one of the 5 scrolls that are read in the synagogue during Israel's annual feasts. The book of Ruth is read during the Feast of Weeks, which is also known as Pentecost. It is not known when the book was written or by whom, but it is speculated that Samuel might have written it. At any rate, the book serves as a narrative bridge between Israel's chaotic period under the judges and the establishment of David's dynasty. So at some time in the days when the judges ruled the land, there was a famine in the land. This was one of the consequences of Israel's breaking of God's law. A guy by the name of Elimelech, who was from Bethlehem in the land of Judah, took his wife Naomi and his 2 sons, Mahlon and Chilion, to Moab, a country about 75 miles away. A drought that affected the territory of Judah would not necessarily affect the tableland of Moab to the east of the Dead Sea. Moab was blessed with abundant water, a rich soil, and a semi-tropical vegetation. The Moabites were related to Lot, and the people spoke a language closely akin to that of the Hebrews. It's interesting that the name Bethlehem means house of bread or food. And so how ironic that at this time there was no food in the house of food. God had promised rain in due season, and now that it had failed implies unfaithfulness on the part of Israel. So not only did Elimelech and his family have to sojourn because of a drought in the land, you will recall that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob also had to sojourn because of a famine in the land. Interesting. Well, now I'm on a similar thing that I biked on. So that's cool. Oh, I can see the swamp down there. In the past, there have been political tensions between the Israelites and the Moabites, and no Moabite was allowed to be a part of the Lord's assembly. But this is where Elimelech, whose name means "my God is king," took his family. And his wife's name, Naomi, means pleasant. We know that Naomi was in Moab for 10 years, and at some point her husband died, but we don't know exactly when. Naturally, the 2 sons married Moabite women, but then the 2 sons also died. So Naomi is not only grieving for the loss of her husband, but of 2 sons. She had heard that bread had returned to her homeland, so she decided to return to the land of her birth, and her 2 daughters-in-law went with her. Childless widows normally return to their father's houses, but these 2 daughters-in-law wanted to return with their mother-in-law to her country. You can see what kind of a woman this Naomi was. She sounds like an ideal mother-in-law, and so stands as an example as to what all mother-in-laws would do well to emulate. Naomi urged her 2 daughter-in-laws to go back to their homeland, and finally one of them did. Orpah chose to go back to her country and their idols. Chemosh was the chief god of the ancient Moabites, but not without leaving Naomi with a lot of weeping and kissing. Then Naomi said to Ruth, "Your sister-in-law has returned. Now you should go with her." But Ruth clung to her and said, "Entreat me not to leave you or to turn back from following after you. For wherever you go, I will go, and wherever you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God, my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. The Lord do so to me, and more also, if anything but death parts you and me." You see that it is not merely Ruth's love for her mother-in-law that makes her cleave to Naomi. Ruth has discovered that it is Naomi's faith that makes her a wonderful woman. Oh, I see something up here. I was wondering who makes these holes in the sand. And now I am discovering the culprit. It's a tortoise. That is so neat. What is the tortoise doing? Just resting. Huh, that is so cool. Ruth resolutely makes her decision for the true God. Thy people shall be my people, and thy God my God. No more sublime affirmation of love and devotion is to be found anywhere. And she promises to take care of Naomi in her old age. The transforming power of divine love is the best argument for truth. Without it, our profession would be no better than a sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. Campbell Pond, but I'm not going that way. I'm doing the Palmetto Trail. And so they made the 75-mile journey together. I would be interested to know what they took with them. Undoubtedly, they traveled by foot, but I'm pretty sure they did not have backpacks back then. They arrived at barley harvest, so this means it was springtime in Israel. When they got to Bethlehem, everyone was excited to see them. Is this Naomi? But Naomi was still grieving. She said, I went out full, but I came back empty. You know, Naomi's sufferings prepared her to lead Ruth to the promised land, both figuratively and literally. God may permit suffering so that our characters may be prepared for service and for citizenship in his kingdom. In her grief, Naomi still went forth. She rises from the calamity that had overtaken her in Moab. So let this story inspire us, that we set out from where we are and turn our steps in the direction that God would have us to go. Let us too set out for the heavenly kingdom, and as we are on our way, may it be our privilege to take some with us who will say, may your people be our people, and your God, my God. And here's Poinsett State Park. And there's my mom waiting for me. This looks lovely.